UFC 319 is back on pay-per-view. Not going to be able to say that a whole much longer with the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but they are back on pay-per-view coming up on Saturday. In the main event, Dricus du Plessis defends the middleweight championship against Khamzat Chimaev. It is a champion who has burst onto the scene and has some way, somehow surprised some of the best fighters in the middleweight division, going up against a fighter who everyone just assumed would get to this point very, very quickly. It is a very interesting story. It's a very interesting fight. Let's break it down. Dricus du Plessis comes into this one at 31 years of age. He is 6 feet tall with a 76-inch reach. Born in South Africa, he is training at CIT MMA. He has a record of 23-2, 9 wins coming by knockout, 11 by submission. He has been knocked out once and submitted once in his MMA career. His last fight coming up against Sean Strickland back at UFC 312, the second successful title defense. Won the belt off of Strickland, beat Izzy, beat Strickland again, and now he's going up against Khamzat Chimaev. He is riding an 11-fight winning streak, 8 finishes, although 2 of the last 3 have been by decision. Again, he has defeated Adesanya and Strickland in title fights. Other big wins include Robert Whittaker and Darren Till, along with Derek Brunson as well. Sorry. For Chimaev, he is 31 years of age. At 6'2", he has a 75-inch reach. From the orthodox stance, he is born in Chechnya, training at Fight Club Akhmat. He is a perfect 14-0 for his career, with 6 wins by knockout, another 6 by submission, including his last one at UFC 308, where he broke Robert Whittaker's face with a choke. It's quite the thing, but he busted up a bunch of his teeth and everything like that in a dominant performance over the former champion. First round, rear naked choke. Third first round finish in his last 5 fights. He is obviously undefeated. He's 8-0 in the Ultimate Fighting Championship with 6 finishes during that time. He is a 3-time Swedish wrestling champion and a BJJ brown belt whose career was interrupted with some long COVID symptoms in 2021. So you have a couple very talented fighters going into this one. And I think it is not just your traditional grappler striker thing, but it's pretty close. The game plan for Dricus du Plessis is going to be avoid the ground at all cost and put that stand-up on, that pressure on, and try to win the fight on the feet. For Khamzat, the strength of his game, while I think he is a fine striker, the strength of his game is the takedowns and the submission attempts. So, Dricus, keep the fight standing at all costs. Khamzat, get the fight to the mat at all costs. Who's going to win that one is going to go a really long way in this fight. It is such an interesting balance of styles because DDP comes into this fight as someone who it's all over the place. And that admittedly is a tough style that has always given me problems when it comes to predictions and anything like that. Like you see the Dean of Mean, Keith Jardine, back in the day, and it's just all over the place. And punches are coming from down at his hip and up out of his neck. Like it's all over the place and you don't know where they're coming from. And it doesn't look like it should work. And then he's won a bunch and now he's competing in potentially a title fight. And it's the same thing here with Dricus du Plessis, where he goes in there against one of the most technically sound strikers in the history of the sport in Israel Adesanya and just flummoxes him with things that are just coming all over the place at him and giving him these weird angles but these weird opportunities, and he's taking advantage of those in big time ways. So that is a really tricky style to deal with. And the best way to do it is to just get it to the ground and not have to worry about it. DDP has a 50% takedown defense right now going up against Khamzat, who is at 46% takedown accuracy, but for 15 minutes, 4.3 takedowns per 15 minutes, or attempts, I believe. Either way, also 2.8 submission attempts in 15 minutes, per 15 minutes, I guess. Sorry. Stumbling on some of the stats here for the UFC. But like it's going to be interesting to see how he can do that. And for Khamzat, like, okay, takedowns, whatever, but if you don't get the finish, you have to do it again. And you have to do it again. And that's a tough style to go into it with. And the other layer to this entire conversation is Khamzat, his average fight time is 6:05. His longest fight is 15 minutes. And the last 5 of those 15 minutes didn't look great. The gas tank was a bit of an issue. Dricus could run a car out of gas. He has a tank for days, and it is a constant pressure. It is 6.12 significant strikes landed per minute, which is quite a bit higher than ones we normally see. Now, Khamzat is at 5.36, so there is a little bit of that there as well, but he is... with Dricus, it is a constant pressure. It is just, again, it's constantly coming from everywhere, so it's mentally taxing as well. He just has a way of really, really wearing guys down. I have had a tough time predicting this fight. As I said, like Dricus, he has a style that I'm never going to favor, and so I pick against him often, and thusly, at 23-2, you can imagine I've been wrong often on this cat. But with Khamzat, he is so dominant, and this is where he's supposed to be at this level by now. He is supposed to have been champion. So it makes sense that he's going to go out and win the championship over a guy who wasn't really supposed to be here at this level. And when I think about what the most obvious way for this fight to go is they dance around a little bit, Dricus lands a bop, and while something is coming from a weird angle, it allows Khamzat to time up a takedown, get it in there, and be able to work his magic on the ground. And I think that is where this is going to come from. And I again, I know it is a blind spot of mine. I have to accept it, but the fundamentals are fundamentals for a reason. And the fundamentals are different in MMA than they are in boxing, where obviously you're not worried about someone shooting a takedown, so you can kind of mix and match it a little bit. But one of the reasons why you need to keep strong fundamentals when you are in the octagon is that when you are throwing from weird spots, it leaves you vulnerable in different ways than you would be otherwise, but it still leaves you vulnerable and potentially a little bit off balance, which is not two words you want to be describing you when you are dealing with someone who wants to take you down a bunch. So I keep thinking that it's going to be, Dricus is going to be weird, he's going to be wild, he's going to be whatever, and then Khamzat is going to slam him on his head, just grab whatever limb is closest and try to take it back home with him. I think that's the most obvious way that this plays out. But the thing that keeps just nicking at me is that 6:05 average fight time and how gassed this guy has looked in the final 5 minutes of regular 3-round fights, and how Dricus has never looked tired a day in his life. And I just think if Khamzat gets the takedown in round 1, doesn't get the finish, okay, it's round 2, gets the takedown again, doesn't get the finish, now it's round 3, and now we're tired, and all of a sudden, DDP puts in 3 rounds of constant pressure, constant work on the feet, and all of a sudden we have 48-47 unanimous decision for the winner and remaining the UFC middleweight champion. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the other one. So, remaining UFC middleweight champion, Dricus du Plessis. Like, that is a very, very real possibility in this fight, and it's what makes this one of the more exciting fights of the year. I can't wait for Saturday night, for that cage door to close, to see these two guys put forth their version of what the most effective mixed martial arts style is and see which one wins out. I can't wait for this one coming up on Saturday. My official prediction is Khamzat gets the win by a finish. It's going to have to be in the first couple of rounds, would be my prediction on that. Co-main event, another intriguing one. It's Lerone Murphy taking on Aaron Pico in the featherweight division. You have Murphy, who is 34 years old, at 5'9", 73-inch reach from the orthodox stance, born in Manchester, England, training at, appropriately, Manchester Top Team, with a 16-0-1 record. His last fight, a unanimous decision win over Josh Emmett, extending an unbeaten streak. He has won 8 in a row since a draw in his UFC debut. He has a couple finishes in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Going up against Aaron Pico, who's 28 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, again, out of the orthodox stance, born in Whittier, California, training out of Jackson Wink MMA, 13-4 for his MMA career, 9 wins by knockout, another 2 by submission. He has been knocked out thrice in his career, with 1 other submission loss on the resume. His last fight coming all the way back in February of 2024, a win over Henry Corrales in the first round of his fight at the PFL Bellator card, which, yes, implies this is the UFC debut for Aaron Pico, who is someone who is coming into this with quite the resume, quite the credentials, and quite a lot of hype. At one point, he was the top prospect in MMA, and it was huge that Bellator got him. And I think that the PFL and Bellator kind of dropped the ball with him a little bit. I think he lost a couple fights early, and that killed a lot of the buzz around this kid. But he has recovered. He has won 9 of his last 10. He's finished 7 of them, 4 of those in the first round. This is such an interesting fight as well. Pico was training for Movsar Evloev, or however you're actually supposed to pronounce it. Sorry about that. But training for Evloev, and he gets hurt. Can't fight, so Lerone Murphy comes in. And Murphy and Evloev are exactly nothing alike as fighters. Aside from the fact that they're both human, that's basically what they have in common. And after that, entirely different styles. So now Pico gets an extra couple of weeks to get ready, but now has to get ready for a completely different style, and one that doesn't really... No, I'm not going to say it doesn't mesh with what he does well, because he can win standing up, but it is entirely different, and it is not in the different going towards the area of his main strength, with it, which is the wrestling game. So I'm interested to see how he kind of handles this. For Murphy, we talk about it there, 9 decision wins, and it hasn't been a lot of finishes. He's won 8 fights in the UFC, 2 have been stopped. So if you like Murphy in this fight, you like him by decision. So I think that is certainly something to kind of keep in mind here, is that he has amazing cardio, really good volume, and is a very high level boxer, I should add, but for MMA, sorry. But he is going in here against just an absolute wrestling dynamo in Aaron Pico. The one concern I would have for Pico is he is 28 years old. He is coming into the UFC. It is his debut. It is the co-main event of a pay-per-view. He is going to want to put on a show and a big, grand performance. And if he tries to do that by just slinging with Lerone Murphy, he is going to lose that fight. Pico has to be okay if there's a couple of boos. He has to get in on these takedowns. He has to be successful wrestling, and that is where he is going to kind of win this fight. So that is where I think a lot of the intrigue in this one lies. I think the world of this kid. Now, I think a lot of Lerone Murphy. I just want to say that. I think his boxing is really at a high level, but I think Pico is a good enough boxer to be able to handle that, and then an elite wrestler to be able to get in on the hips, get the takedowns, and really control this fight on the ground where he feels comfortable. Just of note, Murphy, 52% in the takedown defense department, 4.53 significant strikes landed per minute. And he only absorbs 2.48. So he's on the winning end of a lot of minutes in the UFC, which is great when you only get 15 of those. But I just think Pico's boxing is going to be good enough to be able to deal with that and still be able to get in and do what he does best as a wrestler. So my pick there, Aaron Pico, and I think he gets it done before the judges are required.